Hi guys, my name is Deanna Hill and welcome to my presentation on the acting out stages. What is the acting out cycle? The acting out cycle moves like a roller coaster. It simply explains how the student's behavior escalates and operates from the beginning to the end. In the acting out cycle, there are exactly 7 stages. And in phase 1 is the calm stage. In the calm stage, the student is pretty much calm and positive and very, very happy. They are cooperating in the classroom, they're academically engaged, their goals are directed, and they definitely obey the rules. This includes working with their peers and also responding to their teacher's praise. Most importantly, we must know that the calm stage is the stage that we want every child to stay in. And the steps for responding in the calm stage is to assure that you create a sound classroom structure related to your classroom management plan. Set explicit expectations when teaching social and behavioral structure to students. Give students enough attention and the right kind of attention for meeting your expectations to keep them calm. And this is including contingent and non-contingent attention. In phase 2, this is the stage where a student can be triggered, and this can be in both school-based and non-school-based settings. In the trigger stage, a child is very, very negative. Their interactions with their teacher is pretty much negative. They argue with their peers. They show confusion and lots of academic failure, and they just do not want to be involved. Their basic needs are also affected. And the needs are basically hunger, sleep, and things like stressful home situations and health problems. What triggers phase 2 is basically unresolved conflicts or concerns that the teacher may not notice when the child is basically showing that they are either frustrated or they just don't, they don't know how to do it. The steps for responding is to identify situations where the behavior is likely to occur, create problem-solving strategies, which is pre-correction plans that addresses the problem, rehearse the expectations, certainly, and remind the students as needed. Make sure to provide specific praises or reinforcements to help the child to stay calm. In phase 3, this is the agitation stage. And as you can see in the picture, the child is very, 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 very angry. Um, the way to interrupt the acting out cycle is to do it early. And that is in this stage where you noticed it is very, very long, and it is so important to try to interrupt the stage before, which is phase 2. Increased behaviors like darting eyes and the movements of the body are signs of agitation. Decreased movements, such as like staring for a long time or having little to no involvement in the classroom. The steps to responding to a child that is in agitation phase is to intervene by approaching the student's issue. Ask them questions showing that you truly care about them and that you are so concerned and that you are definitely there to help them through it. Offer solutions and don't be afraid to shift the instruction because that can actually help as well. The next stage is phase 4, which is the acceleration stage. Uh-oh. Let's see what happened to the recorder. I don't know. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. Let's go back to the acceleration stage, which is phase 4. The student's behavior is set to engage the teacher, which is like questioning the teacher and just arguing back and forth with the teacher and actually refusing to do the work. This is the actual stage where the teacher notices the problem because the student is trying to provoke the teacher and get the teacher's attention that they are just not having it. The steps for responding to the student is to offer a prompt and walk away. Make the request known and the opportunity to respond. Sorry guys, I am sick right now, so do not mind my voice. The next step is to give them immediate reinforcement. Use intervention while responding kindly, and just basically lose the battle to win the war, of course. And our next stage reaches peak. And this is a very short stage. And the reason why it is so short is because there is so much, like disturbing behavior, such as loud and explosive. It could be physical assault, which includes hurting, crying, or destroying things in the class or even other people. Prevention in this stage is not possible, they say, because there's a behavior earthquake. However, in this stage, after the child does all of these things, they basically calm down. But let's talk about the steps to respond in the peak stage. So you have to be willing to focus on the students and the staff's safety at all times because the child is unable to control his or her actions. Provide directions for response and, if needed, evacuate others out of the classroom. After the peak stage, there's a stage called phase 6, and this stage is de-escalation. So the behavior is slowly decreasing, of course. The behavior is not as bad as it just was in the peak stage. They deny any responsibility once this stage is decreasing, and they just basically blame others for what they did. There's also withdrawal in this stage. However, the steps to respond is to remain calm and to put the child in a separate area of the classroom without removing them from the class. Avoid blaming that child because it will do nothing but provoke them back. Allow the student to have space, of course, and because space allows a person to calm down, and make sure you're just supervising them as they, in that different space from the other students. Give them independent activities at their instructional level. So just give them an activity that they're good at and, that they can complete to help them to feel confident and to come back down. Here is the last stage, which is the recovery stage. And in this stage, the student may avoid talking about the incident, of course. The teacher may think that they will re-trigger the student's behavior if they debrief because the stage before for the teacher is just very, very stressful. So the goal is to just continue to create a healthier learning environment. And debriefing is needed. How to respond to this is to help the student return to their normal activities and engage in learning. Continue with planned consequences and do not discuss or negotiate. Acknowledge cooperative and appropriate behavior while encouraging and supporting the student in changing the problem behavior. So just continue to stay positive in a stage and try to lead them back to understanding that, you're not upset and the next time, the behavior isn't acceptable and that they're going to do better and to continue with their work. Let's talk about examples across multiple classroom settings. In this slide, I use the scenario, and there's actually a 2-hour delay on this day, and the shift of the 2 hour delay changes the routine for the child. Okay, so I'm going to let you all know how this goes, and keep in mind that there's a 2 hour delay. So a student is calmly reading his book during transition time from morning work into math, and this is the calm stage. The teacher states, "Okay, students, let's get out our materials for our math lesson today." The student says, "I don't want to do math, I want to read." And the teacher says, "I understand that you would enjoy reading, but it's time for math." Student, "No." Now, the student is now becoming agitated, and he starts to slam his books on the desk while screaming "no" to getting ready for math, and that is the agitation stage. Students begins to whine and cry while arguing about his journal and pencil for the lesson with the teacher, of course, and this is the acceleration stage. As the teacher calmly asks him to cooperate, he yells "no," and his crying continues to escalate. The student heads for the door, but is stopped by the teacher. Papers and books are now thrown to the floor, and the crying has turned into sobbing. This is the peak stage. He begins to get physically exhausted from the acting out process, and it is decided that as soon as he is done with all his math for the day, he may read his books quietly at his seat, and this stage is called de-escalation. He is then redirected, and students take a seat, and the student, he takes a seat and he places his head in his hands, of course, because he's recovering, and he looks at the board while being informed to take deep breaths and continue to work at the activity of his level. What are some examples of de-escalation techniques? Well, always remember to stay calm and avoid overreacting. Be empathetic at all times and non-judgmental. You do not want to blame or point fingers at them. Show open and accepting body language, showing that you care and that you're not upset at them and that, it's going to be okay. And you can also do this by creating a safe space while giving them personal space. Be assertive, not aggressive. And last but not least, redirect their thoughts while setting positive limits. Examples of the individualized de-escalation plan, Tier 3. I actually found a template that I did not get a chance to post, but it is very, very guiding. So I recommend that, if you need an actual example of an individualized de-escalation plan. But in this plan, things like, individualized counseling can occur, family counseling, actually making a functional behavior assessment to understand the behavior, and the collaboration between like the actual teacher and like the specialist, for the support is can be included in this plan for the child or the student that needs to be helped. There will be certain instructions, and this includes in and out of class. Other resources for colleagues is things like, visiting the Iris Peabody module that we always look at. It has an overview of the acting out cycle. And then, I know it's a lot of people that do not know how to address disruptive and non-compliant behavior. So I felt like this was also a good source to look at. And here is a YouTube video that is very, very interesting, talking about calming and de-escalation strategies. I really hope you guys enjoyed my PowerPoint. And again, I am so sorry for the interruptions that I had in this PowerPoint with me being sick and the recorder messing up. But I look forward to visiting you all's PowerPoints. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.